The following story has been brought to you by StoriesToInspire.org.
About 30 years ago, there was a Bachar in Israel, an Israeli. He lived in Israel, and he was in yeshiva. He was about 16 years old. He was riding the bus to go home, and there's music playing in the background on the radio. He wasn't really paying attention. And all of a sudden, the newscaster breaks on, and he says, "We have to interrupt this program for a special broadcast." Israel get very nervous. Something means there's a war chas v'shalom breaking out. And the radio host gets on. He says, "Listen here. There's a 10-year-old boy who called the radio show. I want you to hear what he has to say." They put this little boy on. And this boy gets on. He starts to say, "Please, my father passed away a few months ago. My mother found a job. She's working, but she's finding it very difficult to support 5 of us. And 3 months ago, we got a notice from the electric company that our electricity is going to be turned off if we don't pay. But we didn't have any money to pay it. And then 2 months ago, we got the same notice, and we still didn't have any money. And a month ago, we got our final notice. We put together whatever little money we had. We sent it in, but it wasn't anywhere near what the minimum payment should be. And they went and they shut off our electricity. It's been 2 days now. We're living at home without any electricity. Please, could somebody help us? Somebody help us. There's nothing that we can do. We owe 1,800 shekel. This is 30 years ago. We have no way of getting that money. Could someone please help us?" Then the radio host gets on. He says, "You all heard the cries of that little boy. If anybody can help." He gave out the number of the radio station, and they went back to playing the music. Rafi's sitting on the bus, and he hears this, and for some reason, he got energized by hearing this. And he felt, this is my calling. I can do something. And he got off the bus at the next stop. He quickly went to a payphone, put it in an Simon to make a phone call, and he calls up the radio station, and he says, "I just heard that broadcast of that little boy. I'm going to put that money together. I'm going to put together all 1,800 shekel. Please call up the family and tell them right now that they don't have to worry. It's going to be taken care of." And the broadcaster says, "Are you sure you're going to do this?" "Absolutely. Please call them up. They're going to have the money. They shouldn't be worried even now." Okay, so he realizes that if you're going to do something, if you're going to do the right thing, do it the right way. And he went and he started to go. He looked in his wallet. How much money do I have? And he looked inside. He had almost 200 shekel. Give every penny that he had. Then he started to go store to store, telling people what's going on. There were a lot of people who heard the broadcast. They gave money, 20 shekel, 50 shekel, 100 shekel, 5 shekel. And it took him many hours until finally he put together all 1,800 shekel. He called the radio station and he says, "I have the money. I'm coming over right now." They gave him the address. It's somewhere in Romania. He runs over to the radio station and he gives them a stack of a bunch of different bills and coins. "Here's the $1,800. Please give it to the family." The radio host looks at him and says, "Who are you?" He says, "Me." He goes, I'm a fellow Jew. I heard the broadcast. I heard the little boy." He said, "What's your name?" "My name? My name is Rafi." "Rafi, what, that's it? What's your family name?" He said, "Look, this is not about me. That family needed help. Of course I went and put the money together. Please give it to them. My name is not important." And Rafi turned around and he walked away. And that was the story. Rafi didn't tell anybody what he did. And that's the story. Many years later, about 15 years later, Rafi already got married, had children, and now he was in a yeshiva in Yerushalayim, and he was teaching in the morning, learning in the afternoon. And one day, while he finished teaching his morning classes, getting ready to leave, and another fellow Rebbe walking next to him, he looks at him and says, "Rafi, why so down? You look pretty sad." He says, "Well, I'm going home now for lunch, and I don't know what's going to be." He says, "Everything okay?" He says, "What should I tell you? They shut off my electricity." He says, "What? Why did they shut off your electricity?" He says, "Well, you know what's going on in yeshiva? We haven't gotten paid in 2 months. And the way expenses have been, I haven't had money to pay." He says, "Really?" He says, "Maybe I can help you." He says, "Yeah, I owe 3,800 shekel. What are you going to do?" You're not in any different boat than I am. And as they're talking, another Rebbe walks by and says, did you just say that your electricity's turned off? Now Rafi's getting a little embarrassed, didn't want this to be a whole. He said, yeah, my electricity's shut off. He says, really? How much money do you owe? He says, 3,800 shekel. He says, wait here 1 second. Goes outside. Rafi doesn't know what's going on. His friend doesn't know what's going on. He comes back in 2 minutes later. He says, give me your number. This is my number. You have my number. You call me all the time. No, not your phone number. Your meter number. Your meter number for your electric. He says, I happen to have the bill on me. Takes out the bill, gives it to him. He says, 1 second. Walks outside. Comes back 3 minutes later, says, here's your bill back. It's been paid in full. He says, what? It's 3,800 shekel. Yep, it's paid in full. Oh, really? You have 3,800 shekel? No, I don't have, but my aunt has. He says, your aunt? Who's your aunt? He says, let me tell you, my aunt once told me that if I ever see anybody in trouble with their electric bill, I should call her right away. For some reason, she got into this thing, I should call her right away. This is only the second time I'm seeing this. I called her up, I told her, she took the number, she took care of it. Here you go. Rafi was amazed. He went home. By the time he got home, it took him 40 minutes to get home. By the time he got home, the electricity was on already. His wife was so excited. And she says, Rafi, what did you do? Where did you get the money from? He says, I didn't. I have no idea. So you have no idea. And he tells her the story. So she says, we have to call her up. We have to thank her. So Rafi calls his friend. Friend gives him the aunt's number. And they both call up. And she says, you paid my electric bill today. I am so grateful. I'm home with my children, my wife. I am so grateful to you. She says, okay, you're welcome. So he says to her, why did you do it? You have no idea who I am. So she says, let me tell you. Many years ago, I was a widow with 5 little kids. And I had no money, and my electricity was shut off. And I was stuck. I had no one to turn to. I owed money to everybody already. And then this fellow went, and he collected money for me, and he put money together for me, and he gave it to me. I have no idea who that malach is, but he saved my life. He saved my 5 kids' life. And I was so grateful to him. I decided that someone can go and do that for a stranger. If that's what Klal Yisrael is. If somebody can do that for a stranger, I also want to do that. If he can help out his fellow brothers and sisters that way, even if he doesn't know who they are, I also want to do the same thing. So I took upon myself right at that moment. When I get into a better situation, Mir Hashem, I'm also going to help others with this problem. Baruch Hashem, I got you married, and we have some money now, and that's what I do. So Rafi was quiet, and he looked, sisters, tell me, what's this person's name? Because I have no idea, he didn't want to say. All he said was his name was Rafi. And Rafi, full of emotion now, tells her, says, it was me. It was I. I'm the one. I'm that Rafi who collected the money for you all those years ago. And they both started crying. And they both realized what a schus they have to be part of such a nation that goes out of the way to help their fellow brothers and sisters, even if they have no idea who they are. Because if you're going to do the right thing, do it right. Have a wonderful Shabbos.
Enjoyed this story? Come again. Bring a friend. StoriesToInspire.org